All right, there we go. Hey there, DBI, Riz here. And we got today another roleplay review, this time for Arrival of the Unjust. It Begins by Kerwin. And I feel like that this review is going to be less of a roleplay review for this individual log and more of kind of like a conversation commentary, kind of like me giving some tips on, like, I'm gonna move this over here, how to generally tell a story for a new character, especially a new person coming onto the page. And as someone who's been kind of following Kerwin's entire story, I just felt like of the RPC, I was the best suited for it. So I kind of jumped in and took over this log. But before we get into that, so let's go over what this is about. So this is a story about Kerwin. There are NPCs, Dreyfus, he's the trade master in Orthus, and Kaltos, who is the fishing captain. And the summary is Kerwin discovers something strange about Orthus. It is unnaturally peaceful, and the citizens are not what they seem. So, what happens in this log? Well, there is a log with Kerwin and Nova where Kerwin was actually in Yasai City, which we've kind of said is a couple hours away drive from Orthos, the fishing village that he's in. And he comes back from the fishing village, and he has kind of bartered and has some supplies, which is right off the bat something that I absolutely love, because Kerwin, you are taking things that are being told to you as a new role player, someone who's new to the setting, and reincorporating them into your own solo stories and into your own character. Like the fact that on Vegeta, they don't use currency. They're bartering because, what is a Zenny bill when you have nothing to use it on, right? People need supplies. So he takes his fishing supplies, trades fish for things that he's going to need, like battery, I think he says, batteries and fuel for their vehicles and some other things that he needs. But he is coming back from the fishing village, and kind of right away we get into I guess my issues with this log. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I did not grade this log very high, and I'm going to try to highlight some of the things that were I would say the errors in this log, and try to help us, get the writing up to where it was, because he is talking to, I want to say Kaltos. Yes, he's talking to Kaltos. But one big thing, and you guys will notice here in a little bit, is that we don't have a consistency on the color coding here. I think we only ever see this bright green here once, and it's right here. And yeah, we never see it again. So, just from that aspect, I got a little lost on who was talking and who was emoting and what was going on. And even here, we have this pink, and then it goes to a different color pink, and then we have this orange, and then there's gray, and there's white, and there's more gray. So what I would say, Kerwin, is right off the bat, when you start color coding things, be consistent, right? When you are having, say, somebody is speaking and their speech is green, even if you don't like it, if you save it and you keep it there, then whole way through keep it as green, and you can change it in another log, or you can go back and change it yourself, but I would just stick to your color coding. I'm also going to put for you the link that Kansu has for the forums, where he has his 2 color code copiers. So if you're using Mush, there's a whole program that will copy everything for you. And if you're using Mudlet, I think is the other one. Either way, it'll just copy all the colors for you, and you can paste it into a document like OpenOffice. That's what I use, or Google Docs, whatever you want. And it's already coded for you, so that way you don't have to go back and recode yourself. But anyway, back to the log. So he comes back. He's talking to Kaltos, and the thing that's been going on in Orthos since we've kind of discovered this area is that the people have always kind of had this very distrusting feel towards Kerwin, and we don't really know why, but it's very apparent. That's the vibe and the feel. That's the atmosphere in this entire log. is that nobody really trusts him, but you never tell us why they don't trust him, right? He comes in, he basically says like, I'm a refugee, I'm a servant, and people are like, all right, you're a servant, but you have a ship. You're a servant, but you are a pilot. And like he apparently like gave up his only means of escape, which is like, well, is he trapped here? He just left to Yasai City on his own. He could leave whenever he wants, like there's a spaceport at Yasai City, so he's not necessarily trapped, right? So I'm gonna, before I get through the rest of the story, I'm gonna say this: I think that you have 60% of a story, right? I think you know what you want to say, but I think just a little bit more time with it. I would, excuse me, I would highly recommend doing like a storyboard of, okay, like here's the story that I want to get to. Like here's the beginning, here's the end, and like kind of bullet point your way through, so that way you kind of have like a guide to follow. And I'm not just talking about like Kerwin's story. I'm talking about your Orthus story. I'm talking about Arrival of the Unjust as a chapter of itself. Because I understand maybe what you're kind of getting at. I just don't I guess for me, I don't understand the why, right? I don't understand why everybody has such a problem with Kerwin being Virion, because that has kind of been soft established, right? You haven't come out and said it yet, but that's the conclusion that you've given the audience, at least, that he is Virion, and they don't like that. I think you've hinted at it enough. I think you need to tell us why. I think you need to tell us why they have such an issue with him being Virion. I think that you also need to tell us why he's so hell-bent on keeping it a secret. And I think you need to tell us what his secret is. You don't have to unveil it to the characters on the page, but you need to unveil it to the audience. If in some way, I'm trying to think of like of a way I'm saying this. Let's say you have a scene where Kerwin's just in his chambers all by himself. It's the middle of the night, and he finds some sigil or some note, some stamp even that says like, yep, he's nobility, and he is lying about it. And then he kind of has like a quiet conversation with himself as to why he's been hiding this fact, because it's causing some issues, right? These people, the Dreyfus and Keltos, they've been, pretty much saying like, you keep what you kill, so you earn your keep by working, and we're going to allow you to work. But they've noticed that he's not just a servant, and here they go as far as to attack him. They say Keltos is not a patient man. Keltos is the fishing captain. So while they're out on a boat, they ask him, like, you can pilot a short-range craft, and you feign the likeness of a slave, so here's your chance, don't lie to me. Tell me who you are and why you're here. And to put a pin on that, I would, if I were you, strongly differentiate, and because there is a big difference between a servant and a slave, right? Servant is like, what's his name? Alfred from Batman. Alfred serves Bruce Wayne, but he lives in his house. He comes and goes if he wants to, but it is more of a job that he does for him, with a little more equal standing. And it's something, to serve a noble house and to serve a lord and to do it well is a great honor for a lot of people. To serve, I won't say that character, but to serve is a good thing. Slavery, though, that tells you right away, like, the people he's coming from, big douchebags, bad people, right? If he were a slave, he would not have the regency that he has. He wouldn't have the ability. Like, slaves are tools. They are worked to the bone till they die. And if he were a true slave, like, unless his slave owner is just pathetic, or he was pathetic and not worth the effort, like, you lose a tool like that and somebody's coming after you to get it back. So I would definitely, differentiate if he were a servant or if he were a slave. And he says that he was better schooled and educated to serve his master. And then they don't believe him, and they literally attack him. They hit Kerwin over the head. They hang him over upside down the side of the fishing boat. And he's basically over, I don't know the parts of a boat, the bow, I guess. And he's hanging upside down. The waves are hitting him in the face. He's hitting his head on the back of the boat, and he's chained up, and they're they're kind of Batmaning him, like, swear to me, who are you? And after he just says, and yeah, this is again you gotta help me out, man. You gotta keep it all one color, because this is a little hard. So they say, all right, who are you? So you're going to tell me why you're here? And he just said, I wanted a new start. And then from that, they lift him back up. He goes about his fishing day. And that's why I say, you have 60% of a story, because that's a really good scene, right? And the way I'm kind of seeing it in my head, excuse me, I'm still very congested, is that these people wanted a place to live, and they wanted a new start as well, and they finally have it on Vegeta, and they will do anything to protect that peace. And if somebody comes in and looks like kind of a shady figure, kind of can I trust you? They would do anything to protect it, right? They didn't outright kill him and throw his body somewhere. They didn't sell him off to slavery. They didn't do anything like that. They just are, these rough and tough Saiyans, and that, violence is how they answer problems. So I understand that. I do. I really do. But is that their motivation, right? Right now, I don't know who to trust, right? I don't know if Kerwin is hiding some devious, I'm trying to screw these people over, but you got to tell us the why. What is the story here? What are we trying to achieve? And when I say what are we trying to achieve, what are you trying to achieve as the writer? Because again, you've hinted at a lot of things, but now I think with all the hints, just come out and tell us. Just come out and tell us what's going on. Because he just goes back to work, right? Literally, all right, now that that's clear, let's get the nets ready. Let's go back to fishing. And he goes back to fishing, and pretty much at the end of the day, they kind of give him an ultimatum, but they don't really give him an ultimatum. They say, either you do something, and I don't know what that something is, or we're going to tell the Virians that you're here. And that's kind of it. And it seems like Kerwin's going to train these people, I think. Yeah, he says there's combative and support groups that are laid out in defensive positions all around the outpost. So I don't know. I feel again, this log wants to tell a story, but it just came up short on telling us what that story was, right? There's words on page. There is a direction that we definitely want to go, right? The tension that's been building up between Dreyfus, Kaltos, and Kerwin kind of came to a head. It definitely had a boiling point. And finally they're cut the shit, do this, or you're going back to Vera. I think your next approach at this story, and again, you don't ever have to take what I say as, as gospel. It's always just suggestion. If you don't care about what I've had to say for the last 15 minutes, by all means continue on. But what I would say is that, like, your next approach at this story, you got to tell Kerwin's side of this. You need to spend some time with this character and say why it's so important that he does not return to Vera. I think you need to tell us why he even chooses to stay here, because Vegeta is 5 times the size of Earth, and he's on one small fishing village, right? He can just leave. If things are this bad, right? Like, he can literally just go be anywhere else. He doesn't even have to be on Vegeta if he's just trying to get away. And, like, these people get a whiff of who he really is and kind of makes this threat. He can just go anywhere. He can just disappear. And I'm just talking logically of, like, if this were a real scenario. But if this is a story, then tell us the story as why he's staying here. Tell us the story of, why these people want to keep Vera out of the picture, why they don't want Virian Saiyans in their village, in their compound. Like, I do think that you have good a good lead up into a really good story. I just think you need to spend some time and kind of really figure out what that is going to be. And if you want help doing it, if you want, more role plays, which I think that's another thing that you need. I think role playing with other people, kind of, getting the spotlight off of this story, letting Kerwin as a character develop around other people that doesn't involve the story, may help you come back and tell the story again. I know that, you've asked me a couple of times, and while I may appear online on either one of my marts or my admin, the time that I'm physically here in this chair is very rare. So I'm like the worst RP partner to have for consistency. However, if you do want some time, if I have the time to give, I will gladly do it. If there's not, like other logs I have to read for the RPC and things like that, because we've got about 18 of them that need to be finished. Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of it. I didn't love this story because of, like, some of the logistics things of it, right? Of, like, the color scheme, it made it hard to follow, and then, like, who's talking and who's doing that. But I do understand what's being said here. I think the base bottom line, I think just, more time kind of in the oven would serve this story well. But sorry that I took up so much of your time. If you made it the whole 18 minutes, I appreciate it. My name is Riz, and I'll see you next time.